Welcome YouTubers. This is just a video on how to do an oil change in 2020, in this case Impala, Chevrolet Impala. This will apply to many other vehicles with the LFX V6 engine in it. And I am going to use Mobil 1 Extended Performance. I like to use full synthetic oil, especially in these motors. If you don't use a good oil, your PCV orifice in the back, commonly known as a PCV valve, but it's not really a PCV valve because it doesn't have a, you can't shake and rattle it. It's really just an open orifice. They have a different airflow design in these LFX engines. And anyway, if you don't want to clog that up with a bunch of carbon, then you will not only use good quality oil that has either the Dexos 1 designation. This one's Gen 3. They're on the Generation 3 version of this, and Mobil 1 is going to stop putting this label on for whatever political reasons, I don't know, but they swear that it's still the same oil. They just have to pay a licensing fee to Chevrolet to have that emblem on the bottles. So similar to how other companies like Redline and Amsoil, they don't have that on there either, but they still meet the specifications that are needed, as long as it says that they're meeting the specification. Has the following builder approvals: GM Dexos 1 Gen 3. Regardless of whether or not the Dexos 1 sticker is on there, definitely full synthetic, and definitely something that says that will give you the claim that they're meeting the specifications for a Chevrolet motor. If you really want to play it safe, AC Delco engine oil, it'll have the Dexos 1 on there forever because that's a GM product, I would assume. If you're using really the cheapest oil you can find at Walmart, and if you're relying on the instrument panel cluster that basically tells you when to change the oil, then you might experience some problems in your car. On the indicator that you reset in the instrument cluster that says, hey, it's time for an oil change. Let me talk about that. I've talked about it in a previous video that I did for the PCV orifice that I just did earlier today, and I'll get both of these posted. But I want to make sure I talk about it in the oil change video as well, because it's really important for these LFX engines. It's really important to change the oil often and then. Otherwise, you're going to have some carbon buildup like crazy, and you're not going to get that many miles out of your motor, I don't think. You're going to get the PC orifice clogged up, and very difficult to get those out of the later years, I'm finding. The earlier year LFXs, they just pop right out with a pair of pliers. The later, for whatever reason, I couldn't get mine out. I just ended up cleaning it on the car. That's a separate video. I'll link it to this one if you're interested to watch that as well. But that will clog up, and it's very difficult to clean that if it does clog up. So using good oil and changing that oil often, I do it every 3,000 miles. Sometimes 3,500, you know, if it's cold out and I can't get in the garage. But that, you know, that kind of thing. I'm not going to wait 7,500 miles. And the instrument cluster is programmed at a max of 7,500. It might trigger to change the oil earlier. It's got in the ECU, it calculates how often you're stopping. If you're in cold weather, you're doing a lot of start and stopping kind of thing in city traffic, it will reduce that automatically from 7,500 to who knows what. Maybe it'll tell you to change the oil at 7,000 miles or 6,500 miles. You know, it's hard to tell. So I don't rely on that at all. I don't want to go nearly that many miles, and I definitely don't want to go, you know, some of these things says protects for 25,000 miles. Gosh, I hope nobody's leaving this oil in these Impalas for 25,000 miles. I sure wouldn't. I do it every 3,000 miles. Oil's cheap compared to the price of a motor. I recommend putting some quality full synthetic motor oil in. If you can find something with the Dexos 1 label on it, definitely it's got the cleaning agents and the lubricating agents to properly lubricate and make sure that seals and things don't get deteriorated, and eventually you have oil leaks and all that kind of thing. So there really is something to the science and the engineering of the oil for specific engines, like what kind of seals are they using, what are they made out of, and what protects this from deteriorating. Go ahead and change it often so that you can keep a nice healthy motor. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to put this car up, and we're going to give this vehicle an oil change. So let's get at it. So this is just how I do it. I put a little mirror down on the ground close to on the floor, you know, to where I can see the car while it's going up the car ramps here. That gives me a little more peace of mind to know where I'm at. Right there is where I want to be. Now that the vehicle is appropriately up on some ramps, I'm just using my homemade ramps. I really like them because they're solid wood. The next step, chocks, wheel chocks. I keep mine on a rope and hang them up in my garage. Just makes it a little easier to grab them and stick them under the back. Stick them under the back tires there. This is what I use the rope for. I put the rope up there. It's a visual. Hey, I still got a wheel chock back there. And it's also easier to grab. And that one under there. Put that one up there. Yeah, when you get older, you'll understand. All you youngins that are watching this video, when you get older, you'll start doing things a little different as well. I got something I gotta get down. It's gonna hit my hood. There we go. Yeah, this is in my way. Let's take that out of the way. There we go. All right. So I can't emphasize safety enough. You never know. Emergency brake. Oops, I thought it was on. Oops, I thought it was in park. I know I put it in park. Maybe you were one short of park or something, or I don't know. Maybe there's a linkage failure in your car and you thought it went in park and it didn't. Is your life worth it? I mean, people have died doing easy stuff like oil changes, crawling under their car. So take the necessary precautions. Now here's what I do. If I'm going to be all the way under the vehicle and it's jacked up, in other words, it's not sitting on these solid boards. I mean, I know this is as solid as it gets. It can't collapse. It's not a plastic ramp that can collapse. It could roll back. That's why I've got the wheel chocks on there. But if I was jacked up, I would be using some jack stands. I know it's not going to roll backwards. I know it's not going to collapse. It's not a plastic ramp that could collapse. Yeah, a jack isn't as good as a jack stand. Everyone do your own comfort level, but be safe. You know, I'm confident that these aren't going to collapse or roll backwards. So I'm confident in crawling under there to do this oil change. Okay, I'm using this oil pan here. It's kind of a large oil pan, but it's really nice to have something that'll pour good, and some of those cheapies just don't pour very good. So I wipe this out real good, and what I do is I make sure it's pretty clean before I put it under the car. And the reason I do that is so that I can better inspect the oil after it drains out to see if there's anything in it that I should be concerned about. So I'm going to crawl into there with just a simple ratchet and a 15 socket. Okay, in order to give you some perspective here, on the front of the vehicle, there's the driver's side over here, passenger side. That's your transmission on this side, and that's the bolt that you take off when you drain your transmission. So don't do that unless you're flushing the transmission fluid out. I've got my wrench hung on the bolt, the 15mm bolt for the drain. And so that's the first thing we're going to do is take that drain plug off. Okay, I put my little Astro light down here to put a little light on the subject. This little Astro light is nice. It's got a magnet on the base of it. I can stick it anywhere. Got it stuck on there. Okay, so just crawl under here and come up to the 15mm bolt here. There we go. Once you loosen it, is probably going to be fine. Take the rest off by hand and let it shoot into the pan there. And I brought a rag down here to wipe the bolt off. This oil isn't that bad. It's a little brown, but the dealer that I bought it from changed the oil, and I don't trust that they put good oil in here. So this oil only has about 1,000 miles on it, I think. While that oil is draining, if you come over here and just look right up there, there is your oil filter. Here, let me get more light over here. There is the oil filter right there. This is accessible from the top or the bottom, just kind of depending on how you want to do it. As you can see, it sits in there fairly horizontal. It's got just a little bit of tilt on it, but this isn't the kind of oil filter that you can fill up before screwing it on, or you'll pour oil all over the place while you're trying to screw it on. I usually like to do that, but on this particular car, I just put a tiny little bit in the bottom, like maybe fill up a quarter of the way or something before putting the new one on. So that's going to drain for a while, and while that's finishing draining, I'm going to go ahead and grab my oil filter. Okay, here's our Mobil 1 M1 212A. I love these Mobil 1s. They are high quality. That thing off. I do like the Purelator Boss equally. And what else? Wicks are pretty darn good. Wicks oil filters. At least they used to be. I don't know if they still are. Alright, so this oil filter, in order to get it off, there's a few things you can do. The one that I like to use is an oil filter wrench like this that fits around it. As you can, it's hard to film this. As you can see, I can get this oil filter wrench snug all the way around the filter, and when I release it, of course, it gets bigger. See how that gets pretty small. And what I like about this wrench is it has that pivoting arm on it. Some wrenches are straight like that, and you can't get on the handle. You can't get any leverage on the handle. You can't get that to wrap around the oil filter, and because there's no place for the handle to go. But if you have the pivoting handle, you can pivot it whichever way it needs to go to get on that filter. So if you don't have a filter, look for one like this. I can link one in the description. Look for one like this that has the pivoting handle. You got a lot more flexibility that way. I'm gonna stick my finger down there and get just a little bit of oil and put that around the seal there to lubricate that up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of oil in here. That is a little more than that. About right there maybe. Yeah, that's about a quarter full. That shouldn't spill out while I'm pouring it on. Okay, put some light on the subject here. So you can do this from the top or the bottom, either one. I grab it and I start turning it. You have to get it snug first before you can turn it. Right there it's snug, and now I can get it turned a little bit. So I'll come over here, get it snug, turn it, and it's at the point now where it'll spin off. I don't have a container under it yet, so I'm just gonna, for right now, I'm gonna leave it like that until we're done down below with the oil draining out. But I'm gonna wait till that finishes dripping. Some people will plug the hole right now. I will wait and get as much of that out of there. You'd be surprised, that little stream right there, it runs for a while. You can get a quarter of a quart out. I wait until it starts dripping. Drip, drip, drip. I like to look to see if anything's leaking down here. If I've got anything, every time I do an oil change, I'll just take a visual all around. I'll look and see, is the transmission leaking anywhere? Do I have any leaks up here on my oil pan gasket? That kind of thing. As you can see, you can do this oil filter from down here, and there is a little bit of a guide right there that kind of guides the oil down in this direction. And if you take the oil filter off from down here, you're likely to get some on yourself, possibly in your face. So I just do it from the top. Then afterwards, I'll just clean it with a rag where the oil, some of the oil might have dripped. Not too much. You're not going to get too much oil spillage out of there. It's not going to be bad at all. All right, we have achieved the slow drip. So I'm going to put, you might want to replace this bolt every once in a while. It's got a rubber grommet, as you can see on there. I reuse mine several times. We're going to take this down to 15 foot-pounds. This torque wrench goes up to 100. I had it all the way on 100 for my last job, so it takes a while to come down to 15, but 15 foot-pounds set. Okay, so I will go ahead and torque this bolt to 15 foot-pounds. This torque wrench has a little bit of a flex head on it. It's really handy in a lot of, like this right here. In this particular case right here, it's pretty handy. But this torque wrench will vibrate and make a sound when you've reached your desired foot-pounds. Has the flex head on it, and it also has the degrees. It'll, if you have to go in additional degrees, it'll do that as well. If you don't know how to do that, you know, look that up. It's pretty interesting. Like on a water pump, a lot of times now the manufacturers will say, tighten all the bolts down to 15 foot-pounds, and then go around again and give it, you know, cross pattern wise, and give it 45 more degrees, for example. And that is what you think it is. It's just a 45-degree turn. But this torque wrench will add it up. If you can only do a little bit at a time, there's 5, 10, 15, 20. It'll add it up for you, and then when you reach your 45 degrees, it'll give you the beep. So that's really handy. It's really handy to have a digital torque wrench that has the ability to do the degrees. All right, so there we go. We've got that done. Now we're gonna put the oil filter on. We're gonna do that, like I say, you could do it from the bottom. You can, I mean, it's right there. You can grab it and do it from down here. You might get a little spillage down your arm or in your face. You can do it from the top too, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna move these tools out of the way. Move the tools out of the way, and I'm gonna grab this pan and pull it up to about right here so that I can catch anything that might come down from that oil filter. Okay, got the oil pan in a good spot. Got a nice little area here where you can reach your arm down in there and spin that off. Now, if you are just running your vehicle, you're not going to want to do this without a really nice glove on, because you are getting in a pretty hot area here. Okay, spinning that off. And that will pull right up through here. And I'm just going to set that out of the way. I have got an old microfiber towel that I don't use for polishing anymore, that I know isn't going to leave any weird threads or anything falling in my motor. I'm going all around the surface where that rubber grommet is going to seal, just to clean that off real good. There we go. I don't know if you can see it. Put the camera down there upside down just to see if you can see the surface that I'm talking about there. There we go. Now this oil filter is all ready to go. Put this down in the hole. Okay, let's just work ourselves down in there. Get that started on the threads there. There we go. Started real nicely, real easily. Spin that. Okay, I'm spinning it until it goes to the surface. I'm going to take my left hand because I can have better leverage with that, and I can really grab onto it. I give it about a 3/4 turn until it got really tight. And that is all you need. You got a nice rubber grommet there. And here, I'm going to wipe it down. It didn't get too much there. You can see from the top. I'm going to go from the bottom and show you where the drippage went. And as you can see, some got right here, some got right here, worked itself over into here. I'm going to wipe all this off. There we go. And there was a little bit that ended up on the top of the frame here area, and a little bit on the very bottom right there. Had just a little bit right where my finger is, right up here. Right up in here, there was a little bit more oil to wipe up. Right in there. Get all that oil wiped up really good. And the filter's on. Easy as pie. I'm going to go ahead and pull my oil out of here, my old oil. Take my light, my tools, and we're done down here. I like to look at my oil a little bit after I pull the pan out, just to kind of see if I'm seeing any metal shavings or anything like that. And this looks really good. Okay, I'm going to take the oil cap off. Oh, one thing I didn't put on camera. As you can see, I automatically pull my dipstick out a little bit when I drain the oil so that it vents. It drains a little bit easier that way. You could also just take the cap off and leave the cap off. Okay, my camera wasn't running, and I didn't show pouring the first oil in there. But I got myself a nice funnel, and what I did is I took this first 5-quart container and I poured all of it in here, all 5 quarts. Even though I'm still on a ramp and crooked and I can't do my final oil level check yet until the car is level, I don't want to start the car up with no oil in it. So I put 5 quarts in it. It's a 6-quart capacity. And one thing you really got to be aware of when you're doing your final oil level check is that you're not very much oil went into the oil filter. It is leaning horizontal a little bit, but that does take some oil in there. I don't know how much. On some cars, no oil goes into the oil filter when you're filling it up here, and it takes the oil pump to fill it up. Every car is different. This car since it's in there horizontally like that, it probably won't make a huge bit of difference, but it does a little bit. And I want to make sure that that I start the car. This is me starting a car. Start the car before I have that final oil level check, to make sure that oil gets everywhere it needs to go, including the oil filter, prior to doing that final oil level check. All right, so I got 5 quarts in there. I'm going to take my stuff out, take the funnel out. I'm going to put the cap back on it, plug everything up, get rid of my empty bottle. I'll use the empty bottle to put the old oil in for when I bring it to the recycle center. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and Make sure everything's okay here. Yeah, everything's good. I'll just lay the hood down a little bit there. And I am going to back this off of the ramps. I'll grab my wheel chocks out of here and hang those back up. So this is just an interesting note here to keep. When I took this oil filter off of the car and I looked down in it, the oil is about right here. Let me look again with the light. Yeah, the oil level in here is about right here. In between a quarter and a third, I guess, maybe a third. That is how much oil sits in the oil filter. In other words, as you can see, the oil filter kind of leans in the car about at this angle right here. And that's how much oil will stay in your filter. Starting the car right now is going to pump the oil into the filter. And then when I shut it off, it'll be right at the level that it needs to be. That's all calculated in how much, in the 6-quart capacity. Got the ramps out of the way, and now we're sitting somewhat level in the garage. And I am going to do the final fill procedure. Now we've got oil into the oil filter, which is about a third of the filter, as explained earlier. And that'll all be calculated in my 6-quart capacity. I'm going to go ahead and see where we're at. I imagine it's going to be a little bit low. Might be hard to tell. Yeah. Get some more light into here. Get a little more light. I can shine it on that. Yeah, really can't see it on the dipstick yet. Okay, here we go. Put some more in there. Check it. Okay, we're now on the dipstick. As you might be able to see, it looks like it's about at the bottom of the hash marks. Let's see where I'm at. Ah, look at that. Now it's in the bottom hash marks, actually just a little bit above the bottom hash marks. Let's explain this dipstick a little bit. Let's talk about this. You see how there are, I hope this is on video okay, but you see how there's a set of hash marks right here, an empty section here, and then a set of hash marks up here. How Chevy does it is, it's kind of interesting. Everything's interesting to me. Some people might be bored about this. But anyway, I'm going to explain this dipstick a little bit. This is rolling down just because I'm unlevel. Let's wipe that off and talk about the dipstick a little bit here. You see how there's a set of hash marks right here, and then an empty section, and then another set of hash marks up here. The way Chevy does it is this right here is considered low, and you need to add more oil. This whole section is an indicator saying, hey, you're low. This whole section is, it's in the middle zone. You're not technically in the danger zone yet where you're too low, but you're starting to get there, and you might want to add a little bit more. This is the zone that you want to be in for the vehicle to be full, to be considered safe. Safe and full and no worries. You're anywhere in here, and you're safe, you're full, you're no worries. I like to have my oil all the way to the top. If it's right here, that's fine. I don't even want it to get down here. If it's down here, I'll add 1/4 of a quart or whatever it takes to get up in here. So here is my goal. Here is where I'm trying to reach, right here on the dipstick. That's where I want to be. So I need a little bit more oil in there to get there. We'll go with about that much and see how it looks. I'm going to give it 15 seconds to get itself down in there a little bit. It's pretty much where it needs to go by now. Check this. Now we are starting to get pretty high. I am almost to the top zone. So I'm going to put a little bit more in. I know this might be it might seem nitpicky or you don't need to be that close. I think it's really important on these vehicles to have the right amount of oil in them. Oh yeah, look at that. It's at the top dot. It's got the dots on the other side. It's got the hash marks on this side and the dots on the other side. And I can see oil all the way up to that other dot. I can see oil all the way to the top of those hash marks. So that is the point where I'm happy. And I think you should be happy too. That now you know how to change the oil in your car. If you already know how to change oil in your car, thank you for watching my video anyway. I sure appreciate it. I do this because I enjoy making these videos. I started making these videos 12 years ago, and I didn't have a lot of time because I was working full time. And now I do it full time. I mean, I do a lot more of it. I don't mean it's a full-time job. I just do a lot more of these videos. So if that is going to be it, other than I am going to start the car one more time. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to take this off of the car. I'm going to go in the car. I'll bring you with me this time because even though I don't rely on this oil life deal here, it says 71% remaining. That doesn't mean anything to me because I don't trust it. I am going to hit the right arrow button to bring up that exit or reset, and I am going to go, oops, it's connected to my Wi-Fi. Okay, dismiss that. Do that again. I'm going to go to reset, and I'm going to press the middle. I use the top arrow to choose reset, and then I press that little check mark on the steering wheel, and then it says, are you sure you want to reset it? And then you have to hit the right arrow key, and when I hit the right arrow key, it went over to yes, and then I hit the check mark, and it resets it to 100%. Ding, 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 ding. And then I forget about that and don't even pay attention to it because I don't trust it. Well, so I talked about this a little bit. I'm going to hit on it a little bit more in case I missed something. Chevrolet builds into these vehicles. They build in the ECU a program, an algorithm that anticipates when the oil should be changed. It's not just a hard set clock of 7,500 miles. It is a combination of many things. The temperature of the car, the temperature of the engine, the how much start and stopping there is, all that stuff, because that wears out oil quicker. And let me put it this way, if you change your oil and you reset it and you're driving on the highway 75 miles an hour for the entire, I don't know, you'd have to go to Alaska and back probably, but if you were able to do it all highway miles, you might be able to get 7,500 miles out of it. But if you don't, and you're like me and you're driving around town, starting, stopping, cold weather, warm weather, that thing might tell you to change the oil at 6,000 miles. It might be 5,500 miles, that type of thing. Well, I don't want to rely on that because I don't want to go that many miles before changing the oil in my vehicle. I want to change it every 3,000, maybe 3,500 at the most. And a full synthetic Dexos one every time to make sure that PCV orifice is kept clean and keep those carbon deposits out of there that ruin your engine. All right, do you have a good funnel like this? I can link that down below. If you don't have a good funnel, just go ahead and pick up a bunch of stuff off Amazon to prepare for your oil change. So now the engine is happy. It has some nice full synthetic oil and a nice new oil filter down there. And earlier today we cleaned the PCV orifice out. I tried to remove it, couldn't get it pulled out. I did a separate video on that. If you care to watch that, I'll link it below. But yeah, I went ahead and wiped out the pan. And yeah, the fun part, cleaning up the tools, I wiped them all down. And yeah, just prepare yourself with maybe something to lay on. I use this old piece of carpet to lay on when I go under there. Have yourself some paper towels and old rags to wipe out your oil pan, and some containers to put the old oil in to bring it down to your local parts store for recycling. And that's how easy it is to change oil in your 2020 Impala or many other year Impalas with the LFX V6 engine. And you know you have an LFX if the 8-digit of your VIN is a number 3. If the 8-digit of your VIN is a number, a letter S, then you have the LGX engine, and you might be driving a V6 Camaro or a V6 SUV, and it's got that darn auto start on it, and you've got your LGX motor. Anyway, yeah, it should be the same in that one too. Thank you for joining Jimpressions. Hope you learned something. If you did, I hope you consider giving me a like, maybe even subscribe for some other things going on with this Impala or Ram pickups and other things that I work on. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great day.